Yo, what's going on guys, Arax here and welcome back to another Destiny video and episode 3 of A View from the Tower, the new series that I'm producing in partnership with Game and Activision to not only talk about some of the cool new stuff coming to Destiny in Rise of Iron, but also to talk about what's currently available for those of you perhaps jumping in for the first time. Last week we spoke about the solo player's experience and covered some of the things that you can do both now and in Rise of Iron if you're running solo. But this week it's time to check out the other side of the spectrum and talk about the cooperative experience. In fact, we recently got some awesome new information surrounding Archon's Forge, which is one of the new co-op spaces in Rise of Iron, as well as a look at some of the more mysterious items we've seen pop up here and there. So I'll speak more about that a little bit later in the video, but first, for those of you that are new to Destiny, let's talk quickly about the overall co-op experience. See, while there are most definitely things you can do in Destiny if you prefer to play on your own, as is evident from the last episode, it's fair to say the game was designed as a cooperative experience, be that with your friends or with random people that you join online through matchmaking. In Destiny, co-op doesn't always have to involve having a pre-made team of friends, and it also doesn't require that you jump into the deep end with a headset and mic, ready to talk to a random stranger that you've just been paired up with in matchmaking. That is, of course, an option, but if you prefer anonymity online, then a lot of progress can still be made through simple gestures and sensible teamwork. Activities like Heroic Strikes and the Prison of Elders are great examples of content that work both with and without direct communication. Strikes are like more challenging missions, kind of like dungeons to a certain extent. You work your way through rooms of enemies and challenging encounters, defeat a boss at the end, and you get some loot. Simple enough. Same thing applies to the Prison of Elders, only instead of being a single dungeon, it's instead a round-based activity that pits you against different encounters, bosses, and again, ends in more loot. You gotta love that loot. That being said, you do then have the more challenging activities that more often than not do require some communication, and are without a doubt best played with a team. Namely, Nightfalls, Challenge of the Elders, Court of Oryx, the new Archon's Forge, and of course, 6-player raids. Nightfalls are much more difficult strikes, with the penalty of having to redo certain sections should your entire team wipe out, and these offer much greater rewards upon successful completion. Challenge of the Elders is a take on Prison of Elders, only the focus here is on scoring the most points possible within the allotted time. Court of Oryx is a co-op space introduced in the Taken King, which you can encounter out in patrol on the Dreadnought. It features statues that you offer runes to in order to summon bosses that often require specific tactics to defeat, and being an activity in a public space, it also means other Guardians simply passing by can jump in and help out. Then if you turn your attention to the upcoming Rise of Iron, you have the new co-op space, Archon's Forge. Now Archon's Forge is pretty exciting. It's also located in Patrol, this time in the new explorable area, the Plaguelands, and much like Court of Oryx, it's designed around short, brawl-like activities that you can tackle with a team, or with random people that may be passing by. Whilst fighting enemies around the open world, they will drop items known as Siva offerings or Siva samples, and some of these items are used as offerings at the Forge. Depending on the quality of the item offered up, you will then get different encounters of varying difficulty. The difference between the Forge and the Court though is that the Forge is much more brute force. It's about dealing as much damage as quickly as possible, burning through waves of enemies in 5 minutes to complete the task at hand. If you die, then you respawn outside the Forge and have to wait for whoever remains to either die themselves and in turn reset the event, or alternatively complete it on their own and come out as a hero. Archon's Forge has its own complete set of armor to earn, and this gear is also viable endgame gear, meaning if this is an activity that you really enjoy and you want to use this to work your way to the top, then that is definitely something you can do. And finally, saving the best till last, Destiny's 6-player raids. These are the hardest of the hard activities, but also without a doubt my favourite thing about Destiny. Featuring challenging encounters, boss battles, and mechanics to learn, understand, and overcome, these really are activities that you need to play with a team. There's no matchmaking for raids, but once you do get a team together, you are in for an epic experience. Raids feature multiple sections and bosses, each with their own loot to earn, full tiers of gear, weapons, and secrets to uncover, and multiple difficulties too. Right now there are 3 raids, the Vault of Glass, Crota's End, and King's Fall. But with the release of Rise of Iron, we will also see the addition of the new Siva-inspired Fallen raid, Wrath of the Machine. The theme for this new raid is collision, and from the gameplay that we've seen so far, I think it's safe to say that running away is probably going to be a great way to deal with the challenges that lie ahead. In a recent interview with Game Informer, the team spoke about how the new raid will likely be much less mechanically driven when compared to something like King's Fall, which required a good understanding of boss mechanics, Instead, mastery of the new raid is much more focused on your skill as a player and the gear that you have. Truth be told, the rest of it is still a mystery, but either way, when it drops, it's safe to say it'll provide you with hours and hours of fun. And for those of you perhaps put off by the fact that you don't have a team of 5 other people to party up with, well, despite the lack of matchmaking, there are still plenty of options. You can join clans on Bungie.net to find other people looking to play. You can check out the forums, which I've actually left a link to in the description box down below. There are also third-party sites like Destiny LFG, the100.io, and even awesome communities like Dads of Destiny. There are plenty of options out there, and plenty of ways to find people to play with. But whether you opt to dive into the deep end with those 6-player raids, or take advantage of the match-made activities, most of them are active sources of endgame gear, meaning that for the most part, no matter what you do, you are always going to be making progress towards that endgame goal of maxing out your gear and your light and being the best that you can be. And that brings me to the end of this episode. That was a quick look at some of Destiny's co-op experiences, both as the game exists right now and some of the new stuff that you'll see when Rise of Iron drops. If you did enjoy the video, then as always a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below and let me know which co-op activities you enjoy the most. And if you want some more Destiny information, then you can also check out Games Destiny Hub, also linked down below. But for the time being, thank you very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.